This one is small on the surface. Rodgers got stepped on, walked off gingerly, massaged his calf, and had a cut on his shin. But the context makes it instantly worth watching. A veteran quarterback coming off an Achilles tear in 2023 and signed to a one-year deal to lead a new offense is a high-leverage piece. Even a minor leg issue can cascade into missed reps, altered mechanics, and lost timing with a new supporting cast. Here's how to parse what happened, what it could mean, and what to watch over the next few days. First, the likely medical possibilities. Getting stepped on to the shin-calf area typically produces one of a few things: a deep contusion, bruise of the calf muscle, an abrasion cut from cleats, or, less commonly but more concerning, a muscle strain, gastrocnemius soleus, or a hematoma. The presence of a visible cut on the front of the shin points to contact trauma. The rubbing and soreness Rodgers showed suggests soft tissue irritation rather than an immediate catastrophic issue like an Achilles rupture. Important caveat: an Achilles tear usually produces immediate inability to push off and a very loud pop. That does not appear to be described here. Still, calf strains can mimic early Achilles pain, and both affect the synetic chain used for planting and throwing, so teams will treat any calf complaint carefully. Second, how teams actually evaluate these sorts of bumps in camp. Typical protocol: initial on-field exam, immediate icing and compression, then a more detailed sideline assessment. If pain or functional deficit persists, trainers order imaging. Ultrasound is fast and useful for muscle tears. MRI gives a fuller picture if there's concern about deeper injury. The stayed in for one more handoff, then came out a rep early detail is telling. It implies Rodgers and the staff judged it tolerable enough to continue briefly, but prudent to remove him from live reps shortly after. That's conservative and appropriate for a veteran with leverage to protect. Why the timing matters. This isn't just another practice nick. Rodgers is adapting to a new playbook, a new coordinator, and new teammates. Preseason practice reps are where timing with receivers, cadence changes, and play call communication get ironed out. Lost reps now are not easily made up. You can run through installs and meetings, but live repetition, drop back, pressure, movement is different. If Rodgers misses multiple practices, the team risks a slower offseason to regular season ramp and less cohesion early in the season. Risk profile given his history. Because he tore his Achilles in 2023, any lower leg complaint raises an extra eyebrow. Re-injury risk and compensatory mechanics, altering stride or release to protect a sore calf, can create secondary issues: hamstring, hip, low back, if not monitored. That's why teams often react more cautiously with older QBs who have prior lower leg trauma. Protect the core asset. Practical scenarios to expect over the next 48 to 72 hours. Best case, mild contusion abrasion, pain subsides with rest, icing and brief treatment. Rodgers returns to full practice within a day or two, and no roster tactical plans change. Middle case, low-grade calf strain requires a few days to a week off from throwing with a progressive rehab ramp. Rodgers could miss a day or two of joint work and perhaps sit out a preseason game. The team leans on backups for extra reps while keeping him as the starter for week 1. Worst case, moderate muscle tear or a complication that limits pushing off for multiple weeks. That would force a more serious contingency plan for preseason conditioning and could shift early season game planning. What the Steelers should and likely will do. Conservative management is the smart play. Rest now, image if symptoms persist, and only increase load after passing functional milestones: pain-free planting, full velocity throws, no limp. From a coaching standpoint, they'll likely redistribute team reps to backups, precisely the moment you want to see whether any of the alternatives can command the offense in live situations. The organization must balance protecting Rodgers with needing to install timing for the offense. That's a hard but familiar calculus for teams with veteran QBs. Roster and strategy implications. Short interruptions change practice plans. More scripted reps for the starter when he's back, more liberty for the backups to run extended drives, and perhaps some contingency planning for early regular season packages that reduce physical exposure for Rodgers. If the issue lingers, the Steelers' evaluation of backup options becomes materially more important. Opponents will watch to see if the backups can move the offense efficiently. What fans and media should watch for next: official imaging results, if released, whether Rodgers participates in non-contact individual work the next day, then team periods, and finally full 11 on 11. Also note his body language and mechanics when he returns to throwing. Shortened strides, reduced arm speed, or guarded planting are subtle signs something still bothers him. Public messaging tends to be filtered by teams. Absence of a precise diagnosis is not a verdict. It's process. Bottom line, this incident is worth attention, but not panic. The report reads like an acute, contact-related soft tissue irritation rather than a catastrophic event. Still, given Rodgers' age and injury history, the Steelers should and almost certainly will treat this conservatively. For them, the short horizon is making sure he's right to throw at full power and plant without pain. For fans, the useful frame is monitor the next 72 hours. If Rodgers is back to full practice quickly and without altered mechanics, consider it a scare that passed. If he needs extended rest or imaging shows a strain, expect a measured plan that leans on backups to preserve long-term function and early season continuity. A worrying image from Steelers practice on Tuesday: Aaron Rodgers walking off gingerly after getting stepped on. It wasn't dramatic. He stayed in for one more handoff and then came out a rep early, but the details matter. Rodgers was seen rubbing his right calf and later down on a knee massaging it, and reporters noted a cut on the front of his right shin, consistent with being stepped on by an offensive or defensive lineman. The team has not issued an official update yet, but even a minor lower leg issue is notable given Rodgers' age and injury history. Context matters here. Rodgers signed a one-year deal with Pittsburgh in June and is expected to be the starter Week 1 against the New York Jets. The Steelers brought him in as a veteran anchor for a team that believes it can contend now. The Rodgers-Tomlin pairing was a major offseason storyline. But Rodgers isn't a spring chicken. He's 41, and he's coming off a torn Achilles suffered in 2023. Any calf, shin, or lower leg irritation in training camp will understandably set off alarms for coaches and fans. From a practical standpoint, this looks like the type of minor practice injury teams monitor closely. A bruise or contusion from getting stepped on often heals quickly. More concerning would be lingering calf tightness, a muscle strain, or something that interferes with Rodgers' ability to plant and push off, essential for a pocket passer who still moves in the pocket. The fact that he finished the rep and then exited rather than being carted off is a positive sign, but the gingerly demeanor and on-field attention mean the Steelers will almost certainly take a conservative approach until they know more. The timing is awkward. Pittsburgh is still in off-season prep and joint practices. There's still time to rehab before Week 1, but it's also the window when teams want to build momentum and chemistry. For a club that counted on Rodgers to stabilize the quarterback room, even a short absence would force adjustments in practice reps and preseason planning. The Steelers have other options behind him, but depth is not an ideal substitute for reps with the first team. Until the Steelers release an official medical update, the right read is cautious optimism. This appears, for now, to be a non-catastrophic, contact-related incident. Still, Rodgers' history and the visible post-play reaction mean that reporters, coaches, and fans should expect regular updates. If the Steelers want to avoid unnecessary risk, they'll give the veteran day-to-day care and prioritize availability for Week 1. For now, keep an eye on official team reports and how Rodgers looks in the coming practices.